Hello again and welcome back to Max's Cards and Dice Dugout. Hope everyone's doing well. This is episode 20. Robert Max here, and this time we're returning to time travel baseball, but instead of utilizing two fictitious teams like we did with the Celluloid series, we're going to be using real Major League players. We're going to be using the cards that I received from Daniel Forcier. These are franchise best players from a particular decade. In this case, it's the 70s. It's going to be the Mets facing the Phillies from the 70s. Daniel's cards come in these really nice protective boxes, and they are also individually sleeved. If you're interested in Daniel's cards, you can reach him on the Time Travel Facebook group page, and I'll leave a link for that in the description for this video. We're going to be playing this game using the advanced time travel baseball rules. So we'll be using the advanced runner reaction board and also the various strategy charts if the situations arise. And let's get to the lineups. And boy, I got to tell you, that was that was a daunting task trying to pick lineups for these teams. There's so many great players, but this is what I came up with. Be what it may. All right, first for the visiting Mets. Oh, yes, and I did do a random draw off camera to determine who would be home for the first two games. We're going to play a 7-game series, or a best of 7, I should say. The Phillies would be home for the first two. We're going to follow a 2-3-2 format. Okay, first for the visiting Mets. These are the 1970 franchise best Mets. Leading off in left field, we have Cleon Jones. Felix Mian bats second. He's at second base. Tommy Agee in center field bats third. Rusty Staub in right field bats fourth. Wayne Garrett at third base bats fifth. Ed Kranepool at first base is batting sixth. John Stearns is the catcher. He bats seventh. Bud Harrelson is at shortstop. He bats eighth, and he has a Black Star designation. I'll get to that in a minute. And batting ninth and on the mound is Tom Seaver. He is a workhorse pitcher. So that means he is not subject to the rule of 5 fatigue rules, but that does not mean he will not be yanked from the game if the situation arises. Okay, for the home 1970 best Phillies, leading off at second base, we have Dave Cash. He also has a Black Star. I will get to that in a minute. Batting second, Bake McBride in right field. Mike Schmidt bats third at third base. Greg Luzinski bats fourth. He's in left field. Del Unser bats fifth. He's at first base. Gary Maddox bats sixth. He is in center field. Tim McCarver bats seventh. He's behind the plate. Larry Boa bats eighth. He is shortstop, and on the mound, batting ninth, is Steve Carlton. He is also a workhorse, and he is an ace pitcher, which could potentially change some results. If there's runners on base, or there's certain situations where that'll change some results, and we'll see if that comes up. He is also a dangerous hitter, so we will replace his card with the dangerous pitcher hitting card. And Tom Seaver, I forgot to take his out. He is just a normal hitting pitcher, so we will replace his card with the pitcher hitting card. Okay, before we start, I need to talk about these Black Stars. Those are awarded to exceptionally good fielders. And in this advanced version, it's not just the home team that is automatically the alert team on defense. You take the defensive rating for all the players, add them up, and whichever team has the higher rating, they're the alert team. In this case, it is the Phillies. Now, the Black Starred players, for the Mets, we have Harrelson. For the Phillies, we have Cash, Schmidt, and Boa. You get to add an extra point to that team's defensive rating. So the Phillies ended up with 21 points and the Mets 18. So the Phillies, at least as of right now, are the alert defense, and the Mets are careless. Okay, so I think we're ready to get underway. Oh, one other thing. In the advanced game, we will read all of the text on the fast action cards, or rather gamble cards, and I'll give them a shuffle right now before we get started. And we're ready to get this 70s rival tournament underway. Okay, Steve Carlton finishes his warm-up tosses. Cleon Jones steps up to the plate, and we are underway. We have a 6 coming off of the batter's card. It's a hard ground out to third base. So Jones is retired 5-3. That's Schmidt over to Delonser. That brings up Felix Mian. And we have a 7 coming off of the pitcher's card, and that's take a gamble. There's no one on base. So the gamble card says an infield pop-out. If batter's salary is greater than pitcher's salary, play is a single. Well, the batter's salary is $1 sign, and Carlton's salary is $4. So it is an infield pop-out to the shortstop for out number 2. Larry Bowe is underneath that one. We'll call that a P6. Out 1. Out 2. And that brings up Tommy Agee. And we have double 5s. So we pull a gamble card. It's coming off of the hitter's card. And it's a walk with a plus sign. Okay, now, in this version of the game, the advanced version, it's not an automatic steal attempt. What we have to do is we have to look at Tommy Agee's running rating and steal rating. He doesn't have a steal rating, but he's listed as daring. So his daring, he could steal even without the plus sign. But runner with a daring rating is listed as a +2. So we have to take that and compare it to Tim McCarver's defensive rating of a 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll the die again and consult the steal chart, which is right here. And we'll do what the steal chart tells us. We got a 5-3. That's an 8. An 8 says he's out. So he's thrown out by McCarver. He's caught stealing for out number 3. Caught stealing for out number 3. And after 1/2 inning of play, it's the Mets 0 and the Phillies coming up to bat. Tom Terrific comes out on the mound, and he's going to face Dave Cash, leadoff hitter for the Phillies. We have a 10 coming off of the batter's card. It's a short single with a question mark. They're both right-handed, and that's a strikeout. So that's strikeout number 1 for Seaver. 1 away in the bottom of the first. That brings up Bake McBride. We have a 4 coming off of the batter's card. It's a deep fly out to right field for out number 2. Rusty Staub's under that one, makes the catch, and there's 2 away. That brings up Mike Schmidt. Michael Jack Schmidt. 2 outs, nobody on. We got a 6 coming off of the pitcher's card, and that's a sharp ground out to the shortstop, Bud Harrelson. He tosses over to Ed Kranepool for out number 3. And after 1 inning of play, we have no score. So we go to the top of the second. First up for the Mets is Rusty Staub, a right fielder. We got double 1s. It's coming off of the pitcher's card, and that is a double. Leadoff double for Rusty Staub. It's the first hit of the game. So we got Staub on second with nobody out. Brings up Wayne Garrett. And we have a 7 coming off of the batter's card. It's a high fly out to center field. For out number 1, Rusty Staub holds at second base. So there's 1 away for Ed Kranepool. We have a 9 coming off of the batter's card. It's a hard ground out to first base. And that moves Rusty Staub over to third after consulting the advanced game runner reaction board. So Staub goes to third, and Kranepool grounds out to first. That's a 3 unassisted for out number 2. Del Unser makes that play. That brings up John Stearns with Rusty Staub on third base and 2 outs. We got a 9 coming off of the batter's card. That's a hard ground out to third base. That's 5-3 for out number 3. So the Phillies leave Rusty Staub stranded at third, and after 1.5 innings, there's no score. Seaver comes back out in the bottom of the second. First batter he'll face is Greg Luzinski. And we have a 9 coming off of the pitcher's card, and it's an infield pop out. And that is going to shortstop Bud Harrelson for out number 1. That brings up first baseman Del Unser. We have a 9 coming off of the batter's card. It's a hard ground out to first base. Ed Kranepool takes that unassisted. For out number 2. Next up is the Minister of Defense, Gary Maddox, center field. And we have a 9 coming off of the batter's card. It's a hard ground out. Back to Tom Seaver. He tosses over to Ed Kranepool for out number 3. So after 2 innings of play, we have no score. First up for the Mets in the top of the third is Bud Harrelson, the shortstop. And we have a 4 coming off of the batter's card, and that's a single with a plus sign. All right, so we get a leadoff single from Bud Harrelson. Now, he can attempt to steal. He's listed as fast. A fast runner stealing bases gets a gets a steal rating of 1. So I was actually wrong with McBride in that, but it didn't, or excuse me, with Tommy Agee, but it didn't really come into effect. But we got the plus sign, so he's going to try to steal. I could call it safe, but we're going to try to send him again. So we'll consult the steal chart, roll the dice again, and we get a 4. And a 4 says we have to roll the dice. Okay, so now what we do in this case is we take Harrelson's 1, and we'll add that to the green die. That's going to represent Harrelson. And then we use McCarver's rating of 2, and we'll add that 2 to the red die. Whichever, if it's high, if the red dice higher, he's thrown out. If the green dice higher, he steals second base. Okay, well, we already know that Harrelson's getting a 1, McCarver gets a 2, and McCarver throws out his second runner of this game. So he is caught stealing and is thrown out for out number 1. Before Seaver even gets to, well, he took a swing, I guess you'd say. All right, so here's Tom Seaver. He has the regular pitcher hitting card, 1 out, nobody on. And we have double sixes coming off of the batter's card. And that's a short single for Tom Seaver. So Seaver's on first with 1 out. We're back to the top of the order. He's not a threat to run, at least not in this situation. And here's Cleon Jones. We got a 4 coming off of the pitcher's card, and that's a foul out. And that foul out goes to left field in foul territory. Greg Luzinski makes the catch, and there's out number 2. That brings up Felix Mion. He's 0 for 1. And we have an 11 coming off of the batter's card, and it's a short single with a question mark. They are not the same handedness, so it is a short single. And the runner reaction board on a short single. Runners advance 1 base with 2 outs. Daring runners on second scores. Well, Seaver's not on second, but he's going to hold up at second on Mion's short single. But the Mets are getting some hits off of lefty Carlton. And it's first and second with 2 outs. And Tommy Agee back up to bat. He walked his first time up and was caught stealing by Tim McCarver. And we have an 8 coming off of the pitcher's card, and that's a strikeout, and that's the first one for Carlton. And that's out number 3. So after 2.5 innings, still no score. All right, we go to the bottom of the third. Leading off for the Phillies is catcher Tim McCarver. We have a 6 coming off of the batter's card. It's a sharp ground out to shortstop Bud Harrelson over to Ed Kranepool for out number 1. 6-3, out 1. That brings up shortstop Larry Boa. And we have a 6 coming off of the pitcher's card. That's a sharp ground out. Back to Tom Seaver. Tosses over to Ed Kranepool for out number 2. And that brings up Steve Carlton. Now, Carlton is a dangerous batter. We'll see what happens here. We have double threes. Double threes coming off of the pitcher's card is a short single. So both pitchers have a base hit in this game. And Carlton's on first with 2 outs. Back to the top of the order, and Dave Cash, the second baseman. We have a 9 coming off of the batter's card. That's a sharp ground out to third base. Wayne Garrett's going to go the short way over to Felix Mion at second. And that's it for the Phillies in the third. So after 3 innings of play, no score. Carlton comes back out into the mound for the top of the 4th, and he'll face Rusty Staub. And we have a 7 coming off of the batter's card. It's a line out to left field for Rusty. It's at the Greg Luzinski for out number 1. Here's Wayne Garrett. Double sixes. Coming off the pitcher's card, and that's a walk. So a 1-out walked to Wayne Garrett. Garrett's a fast runner, but the Mets haven't had much success trying to steal second, so we're going to hold him there, play it safe a little bit. Here's Ed Kranepool. That's an 8 coming off of the batter's card. That's a chop ground out to second base, and a chop ground out. Batter to first on fielder's choice. And so that's going to be an FC. He's on first. Garrett's thrown out at second. That went to second base, so it's going to be 4-6 for out number 2. All right, so Kranepool's on first with 2 outs, and here's John Stearns. We have a 6 coming off the pitcher's card. It's a sharp ground out to second base. Dave Cash over to Del Unser for out number 3. And after 3.5 innings, no score. Pitchers duel so far. Leading off the bottom of the 4th for the Phillies is Bake McBride. We have a 7 coming off of the batter's card. That's a line out to right field for out number 1. Next up, Mike Schmidt. One of the best third basemen I ever saw play. Okay, we got an 8 coming off of the batter's card, and he strikes him out. I think that's strikeout number 2 for Seaver. Yes, it is. And there's 2 away for Greg Luzinski. Double ones. This is going to be trouble. It's off of the batter's card. It's out of here. And Greg Luzinski hits a solo shot with 2 outs. And the Phillies take a 1-0 lead. And he gets an RBI. So there's 2 away for Del Unser. Got a 9 coming off of the pitcher's card. It's an infield pop out. And that's going to go to second baseman Felix Mion for out number 3. But the Phillies do get a run on the Greg Luzinski solo homer, and after 4 innings of play, it's the Phillies 1 and the Mets nothing. First batter in the top of the 5th will be Bud Harrelson, the shortstop. And we have double sixes. It's coming off of the batter's card, and that's a bloop triple. And let's see if we refer to the runner reaction board. Bloop triple. It turns that bloop triple, with the Phillies having the alert defense, into a pop fly double. So it's a leadoff double for Bud Harrelson. And the Mets are in business with nobody out, and Tom Seaver coming up. And we're gonna try to sacrifice him over to third. So we have to refer to the sacrifice chart. And third base must be vacant, it says, and of course it is. So we roll the die, we get a 7. 7 is a chop ground out as ball is bunted too hard. So we refer to the runner reaction board, and a chop ground out is a fielder's choice. And Bud Harrelson is thrown out, going to third. Seaver's on first with the fielder's choice. Harrelson's thrown out, and there's 1 away. Missed opportunity there with the poor bunt from Seaver. Back to the top of the order, and here's Cleon Jones. We got double ones. This is trouble. It's coming off the batter's card, and it's a triple with the exclamation point. Now, Steve Carlton is a ace pitcher, and that's going to affect that triple. I got to look it up just to be sure. When an ace pitcher is on the mound, the wrapped symbol, which is the exclamation point, always triggers an infield line out instead of the result on the flash card. So that's an infield line out. And the runners hold. So the Phillies dodge a bullet there. And that infield line out went to second baseman Dave Cash. L4 for out number 2. So there's 2 away with Seaver on first and Felix Mion coming up to bat. All right, we have a 9 coming off of the batter's card. That's a hard ground out to third baseman Mike Schmidt. Over to Del Unser for out number 3. So Carlton and the Phillies dodge a bullet. And after 4.5 innings, they still lead 1-0. All right, Tom Seaver coming back out. First batter he's going to face is Gary Maddox, center fielder. We have an 11 coming off of the batter's card. It's a short single with a question mark. They're both right-handed, so that is a strikeout, and that's strikeout number 3 for Seaver. And there's 1 away in the bottom of the 5th. Here's Tim McCarver, the catcher. And we have a 6 coming off of the batter's card. It's a sharp ground out to shortstop. Bud Harrelson over to Ed Kranepool for out number 2. That brings up Larry Boa, the shortstop. Boa is 0 for 1. And that's a 9 coming off of the batter's card. That's a hard ground out to second base. Felix Mion over to Ed Kranepool for out number 3. So after 5 innings of play, it's the Phillies 1 and the Mets nothing. Leading off for the Mets in the top of the 6th is Tommy Agee. And we roll a 5 off of the batter's card, and that's a single with a plus sign. So here we go again. All right. Got to consult the steel chart. Tommy Agee is daring, so he is a +1. We'll see what happens if we need to come up with that. We roll a 5, so we have to roll the die, and just like before, Agee's a +1, McCarver's a +2. Okay, so Agee gets a 6, McCarver is a 5, and this time Agee steals second base. So the leadoff man is on second with nobody out, and Rusty Staub. Got a 6 off of the batter's card, and that's a walk. So now it's first and second for the Phillies. Excuse me, for the Mets. Nobody out, and Wayne Garrett. Got a 4 coming off of the batter's card, or excuse me, pitcher's card, and that's a foul out to the shortstop. And on the foul out, of course, the runner holds, and that's a foul out to Larry Boa for out number 1. That brings up Ed Kranepool. He's 0 for 2. Runners on first and second, 1 out. Got a 7 coming off of the batter's card. It's a high fly out to right field. And the runners, of course, hold. So that's a 9 for out number 2. And that brings up John Stearns, the catcher. We have a 10 coming off the batter's card. That's a short single if they are not the same handedness, and they are not. So on a short single, runners advance one base, with 2 outs. Daring runner on second scores. So who do we have on second? We have Tommy Agee. And Tommy Agee is a daring runner, so he's going to score on John Stearns' single. Staub goes to second. Agee scores, and this game is tied. And Stearns gets a RBI. That brings up Bud Harrelson, first and second with 2 outs. And we got a 5 coming off of the batter's card. It's a slow ground out to second base. And that will be Dave Cash to Del Unser for out number 3. But the Phillies do score. And after 5.5 innings of play, the score is tied at 1. All right, we go to the bottom of the 6th. And leading off is Steve Carlton. We got a 10 coming off the pitcher's card, and that's a pressure play. Now, in the advanced game, a pressure play against an alert team, pick a talent card. Against a careless, pick an error card. Well, the Phillies are the alert team, so we are going to pick a card, a gamble card, until we get a talent card, which, of course, is the green batter card. And that's the first one we pick. Okay, so pop fly double over the shortstop's head. If the defense is alert, which they're not, it's a single with the batter out at second trying to stretch it. If 2 outs, runners on second scores, but that doesn't apply here. But it is a pop fly double for Steve Carlton. That's his second hit. It's 2 for 2. So he's on second base with nobody out. And that brings up Dave Cash. Cash is 0 for 2 with a strikeout. Got a 9 coming off of the batter's card. It's a sharp ground out to the shortstop, Bud Harrelson. If first base is occupied, it's a double play. Runner on first is out. Other runners advance one base. If first base is vacant, which it is, runners hold. So it is a ground out to shortstop Bud Harrelson for out number 1. Carlton holds at second. So that's 6-3 for out number 1. And that brings up Bake McBride. McBride's 0 for 2. They have a 7 coming off the pitcher's cards. Take a gamble. It's a pop fly double down the right field line. Star first baseman races out and makes the diving catch in right field. Runners hold. But the first baseman for the Mets is Ed Kranepool, and he is not a star. The only star we have on the Mets today is Bud Harrelson at shortstop. So that's a pop fly double for Bake McBride. And that's going to score Carlton. And the Phillies have the lead again. 2-1. So now we got McBride on second with 1 out. And that brings up Michael Jack Schmidt. And we got a 5 coming off of the pitcher's card. And that's another strikeout. That's the second strikeout for Schmidt. And the 4th for Seaver. That's out number 2. And Seaver's 4th strikeout. So McBride's on second with 2 away, and Greg Luzinski, who homered his last time up. We have a 9 coming off of the pitcher's card. It's an infield pop out to third baseman Wayne Garrett. Phillies are retired, but they do score a run, and retake the lead after 6 innings of play. The score is the Phillies 2 and the Mets 1. We go to the top of the 7th. Steve Carlton, of course, is coming back out. He's going to face Tom Seaver, who is staying in the game. And we got an 8 coming off the pitcher's card, and that's a strikeout. That's only the second strikeout for Carlton. And there's 1 away. Back to the top of the order, and Cleon Jones. We have a 9 coming off. That was a 9. We have a 9 coming off of the pitcher's card. That's an infield pop out to second baseman Dave Cash. And that's out number 2. That brings up Felix Mion. We have an 8 coming off of the pitcher's card, and that's a strikeout. 3rd strikeout for Carlton, and the Mets go down quietly in the 7th. So after 6.5 innings of play, it's the Phillies 2 and the Mets 1. Tom Terrific comes back out onto the mound. He's going to face first baseman Del Unser. And we have a 5 coming off of the pitcher's card, and that's a strikeout. Strikeout number 5 for Seaver. And there's 1 away. That brings up Gary Maddox, the center fielder. And we have a 3 coming off the pitcher's card, and that's a deep fly out to center field. Tommy Agee's underneath it, and he makes the catch for out number 2. Next up for the Phillies is catcher Tim McCarver. And we have a 6 coming off the pitcher's card, and that's a sharp ground out to first baseman Ed Kranepool, and he takes that unassisted for out number 3. So after 7 innings, it's the Phillies 2 and the Mets 1. And we got Steve Carlton back out on the mound, facing off against Tommy Agee. And we have an 11 off of the batter's card. It's a short single if they're not the same handedness, and they aren't. So Agey's on base with a single. That's his second base hit of the game. So he's on first. Oh, boy. Do we want to test McCarver again? I don't think we're going to. We're going to rely on Rusty Staub to move him over. All right. We have a 3 coming off the batter's card, and that's a double. And here we go again with this time travel baseball rule. On a double, runner on first is out at home. Faster daring is safe, and I think he is going to be safe. Yes, Tommy Agee is a daring runner. And Rusty Staub hits a double, an RBI double that drives in Tommy Agee. And this game is tied again at 2. Staub gets an RBI. All right. Staub's on second with nobody out. Here's Wayne Garrett. Double ones. This is trouble. It's coming off of the batter's card. It's back deep, out of here, gone. A 2-run home run for Wayne Garrett. And just like that, the Mets are now up 4-2. 2 RBIs for Garrett on his home run. When it rains, it pours. Still nobody out. Here's Ed Kranepool. Got a 6 coming off of the batter's card. It's a sharp ground out. Back to Carlton. Over to Delunser for out number 1. That brings up John Stearns, the catcher. And we got a 4 coming off of the batter's card, and that's a walk. And looks like he's going to try to steal second base. So Stearns walks. Got to refer to the steal chart. And we roll a 7, which means we have to roll the die again. So Stearns is daring. He's a +1 on the green die. McCarver is a +2 on the red die, and let's see what happens. Okay, and McCarver throws him out for out number 2. Third throw out at second base for Tim McCarver in this game. Caught stealing second for out number 2. And that brings up shortstop Bud Harrelson. We got a 3 coming off of the batter's card, and he strikes him out. That's strikeout number 3 for Carlton, or excuse me, 4 for Carlton. But the Mets score 3 runs and take a 4-2 lead as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Seaver comes out. First batter he's going to face is Larry Boa. And that's a 9 off of the batter's card. It's a hard ground out back to Seaver. He tosses over to Ed Kranepool for out number 1. Well, that's going to be it for Steve Carlton. And we need to bring up a pinch hitter. And that's going to be, let's see. Seaver's a righty. We're going to bring up Denny Doyle as a pinch hitter for Carlton here in the bottom of the 8th. And the Phillies are going to get a few pitchers warming up as well. That's going to be Ron Reed and Oh gosh, let's see. Chris Short. All right, so Doyle pinch hitting for Carlton with 1 out, and we got a 9 coming off the pitcher's card. It's an infield pop out. Back to Tom Seaver. He takes it himself for out number 2. So the pinch hitting of Denny Doyle did not work. And we're back to the top of the order and Dave Cash. We've got a 4 coming off of the batter's card, and that's a walk, a 2-out walk to Dave Cash. That brings up Bake McBride. We got a 5 coming off of the pitcher's card, and that's a strikeout for out number 3. And that is Seaver's 6th strikeout. And the Phillies are retired in the bottom of the 8th. And leading off for the Mets would be Tom Seaver. Now I got to make a decision here. We're bringing Chris Short out to pitch for the Phillies. He is a fiery reliever and a lefty. I think that's going to be it for Seaver. Mets are going to bring out a pinch hitter. And who is that going to be? Well, let's see. It's going to be John Milner. Milner's going to pinch hit for Seaver. He's going to pinch hit for Seaver. Whoops. All right. So leading off the top of the 9th for the Mets is John Milner pinch hitting for Tom Seaver. And we get a 7 off of the pitcher's card, and that's take a gamble. There's no one on base. Bounce out to first base. Daring batter is safe as he bumps first base, who drops the ball for an error, allowing batter to go to second. Well, Milner's not a daring runner, so he hits the ball to Del Unser for out number 1, and he takes that unassisted. All right, that's going to bring up top of the order and Cleon Jones. Well, we got to pull Milner's card. All right, top of the order and Cleon Jones. And we got a 9 coming off the pitcher's card, and that's a sharp ground out to second baseman Dave Cash, over to Del Unser for out number 2, 4-3. Out number 2. That brings up Felix Mian. He is 1-4-4. Got a 4 coming off of the batter's card. It's a deep fly out to center fielder Gary Maddox. He's under it, and that's out number 3. So Chris Short comes out and does his job. And the Phillies are down to their last chance here. Oh, you know what? I didn't pick a Mets pitcher, but it was going to be, and I guess I really should have said this before, it's going to be Tug McGraw, who happens to be on the Phillies team as well. So he's a bit of a doppelganger, but I got to get his card out. You have to excuse me. So McGraw's coming out to pitch. And that was Chris Short, who started the 9th inning for the Phillies. And that's McGraw. And we have Schmidt leading off in the 9th. Last chance for the Phillies. They need 2 runs to tie, 3 to win. We got a 9 coming off the pitcher's card, and he strikes him out. That's the first strikeout for Tug McGraw. There's 1 away. Here's Greg Luzinski. And that's a 7 coming off of the batter's card. That's a high fly out to center fielder Tommy Agee for out number 2. Phillies are down to their last out, and it's Del Unser. We have a 7 coming off the pitcher's card. It's Take a Gamble. There's nobody on. It's a short single to third base. Fast or daring batter to second. As third baseman hurry throw bounces in the dirt away from first base, E5. So it's a single to third baseman Wayne Garrett. And he advances to second on the throwing error. And that's an E5. So the Phillies are still in business. Got a man on second with 2 outs and Gary Maddox. We have a 7 coming off of the batter's card. It's a high fly out to right field. Excuse me. Rusty Staub's under that. Makes the catch for out number 3. And that's the ball game. All right, so your final score was the 1970 Mets 4 and the 1970 Phillies 2. Let's see if we can get the totals. The Mets had 4 runs on nine hits, and they committed 1 error. Phillies had 2 runs on four hits and no errors. Winning pitcher is Tom Seaver. Tug McGraw gets the save, and Lefty Carlton gets the loss. So here we are. That's going to do it. Listen to me. We got 1 game in the books on the Time Travel Baseball 70's Rival Series. The Mets lead 1-0. Game 2 will be here at Philadelphia at Veterans Stadium again. That's going to do it for this episode. If you stung around this long, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for your patience. If you're a subscriber, thank you for subscribing. If you're not, please consider doing so. Also, please consider liking this video. And I'll be back again sometime in the near future with another episode. And until then, take care.